Welcome to the Global Citizen Forum. My name is Dr. Claire Muselman, and I am presenting You Cannot Stand for Something If You Don't Stand Up for Yourself. In summer of 2022, I had the privilege of leading a course called Human Capital Development in the College of Business and Public Administration. This course taught a deep look into self-actualization, self-efficacy, more importantly, self-leadership. Because if you don't know who you are, how are you supposed to be able to stand up for others with whom you serve? This ended up turning into a course that is now out at Broadlawns Medical Center in Des Moines, Iowa, specifically for the social workers that do so much for so many people in our space. And when they feel empty, it is our job to help remind them of why they are awesome and what self-leadership capabilities they can come into fruition with for themselves. Because at the end of the day, self-leadership is a superpower. And if you can find those innate measurements or those innate tools that work for you to be able to fuel your cup when you are running on empty, this is where we start to harness the energy and we take our superpowers to the next level. And this is where we cultivate on our childhood heroes and we think about what made us truly believe in what they stood for. And we start to look at ourselves and we look at our own voice and what we stand for. Because when we can figure out exactly who we are, not by labels, not by titles, not by positions, but when you start to peel that onion away and you discover who you are at your core, you find out ways to be successful so that you are not continuing to self-sabotage through a perpetuating cycle, maybe coming from poverty, from a difference in gender, and a difference from which country you were born, what social class you were brought into, what social determinants of health you face. And by doing so, you can start to cultivate your own voice because, man, when we are told to whisper, so many of us want to roar and to do it in a way that is meaningful and purpose-driven to start showing up for others so that we can cultivate social impact to the depths of society. And it just takes one person. It takes one person to shift that domino and start the ripple effect. Because with one person taking an act of bravery and a step of courage, it showcases that by taking that self-leadership and that courage and that bravery and harnessing it together, it can be the change. So many times we want to throw glitter and sparkle and be glitter and sparkle in whatever space we stand for. Yet we are told so many times we have to fit into a box, whether it be for gender, for race, from socioeconomic status. We are told that we are to fit into this box and behave a certain way when that is not what we want to do. It's not what's purposeful. It's not what's meaningful. It's not what drives us. Because representation matters. And if we don't understand that the little humans that are coming after us see us, they mimic us, they want to be us. And my biggest fear in this life is that we will not move the needle far enough forward to start driving enough change. At the end of the day, all of us want to be seen. We want to be seen for who we are at our core. But it takes a lot of onion peeling to figure out who that person is when you start taking away what society has told you time and time again of what you should be. We want to be heard. Again, when we are told to whisper, I'm telling you to yell. I think that we have so much innate courage built up within each of us that to drive the meanings behind social impact, this is where it has to start. And it starts with that courage and that innate ability to own who you are at your truth and acknowledge it. When we can come to terms with who we are, when no enemy within exists, then the enemy outside can do no harm. And this is where we start to see those leaders rise and they start to stand up for something. When you start to showcase exactly the road less traveled, and while it might be challenging, you can find your value that exists within it. Because again, as an innate human being, we want to be seen, heard, acknowledged, and valued for what we have contributed into this life and trying to make this a bigger impact for the world around us. Human connection is this driving force that we innately all want to be a part of. We're hardwired for this. This is where our oxytocin gets released from moments of vulnerability. When we thought vulnerability was such a weak concept for so long, when it's not. Vulnerability is actually the sign of strength. It releases the oxytocin and helps drive human connection. And with human connection, we can actually share energy with one another. Walking into a room with executive presence, with an energy and a desire and a passion to be there, that is heart, you start to drive change, meaningful change, purpose-driven change. You cultivate power and you are able to help others, not only with the belief within themselves, but you start to believe yourself too. And we look at the life force pyramid. Did you know that 90% of depression symptoms can be alleviated by focusing on movement, focusing on nutrition, focusing on sleep, and your social connections along the way? This is where, when we're empty, we've got to go back to Maslow's hierarchy and start thinking about, from our own self-leadership standpoint, what are we doing? How are we meeting our needs? And when we're trying to help meet the needs of others, do we start where it matters? Starting at the physiological level and working our way up, making sure people do feel seen, heard, acknowledged along the way. And this isn't just within society. When we start looking at our own teams, our own family dynamics, this is an interesting picture regarding worker voice and equity within the workplace. This is everywhere. These are common themes that we need to start harnessing and focusing on those self-leadership components that drive that awareness, because it is our responsibility to own who we are so that people feel free to also own who they are. And when we do this, and we do this with good intention and without ill harm, this is where people can embrace their true authenticity of being that glitter and not fitting in their box, and letting other people continue to break these cycles that have been innately ingrained in us for decades and centuries. Because it is far beyond time that we start to break these cycles. And it is beyond time that we start cultivating meaningful, passion-filled, purposeful change and starting to impact the social well-being around us. Thank you.